arm dumbbell clean is a great dynamic movement, a little power involved. You gotta get your whole body working for this movement. I really love the single arm just to isolate the one side to really focus on your form. I typically have people do it with their feet underneath their hips, but a staggered position is done sometimes as a variation, which makes it a little bit easier for some to not focus on the hinge so much, because with a clean, a lot of people think you either have to squat or do a full RDL, but it's more of a baby hinge. So watch me as I slow this movement down. I'm using a significantly lower weight than I typically would use because I want to slow down the movement and show you how to actually break it down. So my dumbbell is in front of my thighs, shoulders are back, my chest is up. I have a slight bend in both of my knees. So I'm gonna go bilateral stance, both feet underneath my hips. Slight bend in my knees, baby hinge, just to load my hips. And then I'm going to push my hips forward. So I'm kind of like thrusting so I can stand up straight. But then while I do that, so I went to that one, but I actually, what I want to happen simultaneously is I'm gonna thrust my hips, but then I'm going to extend my ankles, meaning go on my tippy toes, and then extend my knees and my hips. So that means everything is straight. I know my pants are a little baggy, so you can't tell as much, but everything is nice and straight as I stand up dynamically and give myself a high pull, driving my elbow up, and then I catch the dumbbell with my knees bent, with my elbow in towards my rib cage, and then stand up. So again, I went very slow there. So I'm gonna go slow again. Slight bend in my knees. I hinge. I extend my hips dynamically while I straighten my knees and my ankles while bringing myself, my dumbbell up towards my shoulders in that high pull, and then catching and cleaning it. So watch me while I do it fast. Slight bend in my knees, hinge, pa-pa. It's all one movement. This is kind of hard for people to figure out at first, but really what's happening is you're trying to like jump up. A lot of people do these with barbells, and it's like you can really get that momentum to come up with a dumbbell, really isolating that single side. You're basically doing a high pull. So you're using your back shoulders to do a high pull like this, but dynamically. So that's why I mentioned using a significant lighter weight, because a clean, you're doing a little more, or using more momentum from the lower body. So slight bend in your knees, slight bend here, and then hinge, pa-pa, okay? And so I like to give the cue of pretending like you have a crayon on your hands, and then you're drawing a straight line. So you're just going high pull, bring your elbow underneath, you're catching it. And you're cracking a walnut underneath your elbow and your rib cage, okay? So watch me again. Palm facing here, slap on your knees, hinge, pa, catch it, back down. High pull, catch it, and then control it on the way back down. So bringing your dumbbell back down is almost just as challenging. You're doing like an eccentric curl, bringing your dumbbell back down, and then reset. So I'll use this in so many different ways in my programming, but typically in a performance program, I'll do the bilateral stance with a single arm, just to get you used to that one side. Sometimes I'll program it with a staggered stance, same idea, slap on your knees, hinge, pa, here. So like I mentioned, it gets a little bit easier for some people to get that bilateral or that staggered stance hinge, because you're not really focused on going too low, you just kind of bend your knees, hinge a little bit, and then go here. But some people have a hard time with that. So just depending on if I'm working with you in person, I'll usually see what works better for you, but everyone's a little different as always. So I really love these cleans. Once you get them figured out, a really great way to build strength and get your heart rate up, so really great for conditioning.